So here we go. I'm finally making a video of me analyzing something instead of just writing, which is very unusual, but here's why. So, today I'm going to talk about a 20-hour storytelling video game that is impossible, like completely impossible, to talk on pretty templates on Instagram stories. So this was my idea, because yesterday I finished one of the best games I've ever played in my life, called The Last of Us Part 2, which a lot of you may know. It's impossible not to know. So today I'm going to talk about the story and the characters of The Last of Us Part 2. So I should warn a lot of you that this video is made specially for the people who have played the game, because this is not gonna be just a review. This is not just gonna be me rambling my thoughts on it, just like out of nowhere, but rather an analysis on the deeper meanings of everything. So it would be better if you have played the game already, but if you didn't and you just wanna understand why the story is so good and why some people may have not understood it to its full potential, you could hear me out today. So as I said, I'm going to make a whole lot of comparisons and explain why there's a very big parallel between our two main characters, Abby and Ellie. So let's begin. So let me just point out that this game was never a love or hate towards Abby and Ellie, but rather an understanding of their perspectives and why their decisions were what they were. So that is why we play both of them. And now I'm going to tackle about the main premise about this game. And the first big parallel that we have between both Ellie and Abby, and that is the quest for revenge. So on one side we have Ellie, who just saw her father figure get brutally murdered by Abby without any explanation or anything to it. So now her determination is quite literally to find and kill every person who took accomplice to Joel's capture, especially Abby, since she was the one who killed Joel in the most cold-blooded way possible. So again, Ellie's quest for revenge is basically to avenge Joel in his cold-blooded murder by Abby. And with that, we are made to think that Abby is the villain. So we have and we create this hatred towards Abby, since she killed Joel and we don't know any reason for it, and she doesn't tell it, she just does it. So at that moment we want Abby dead as much as Ellie wants it. But then as the game goes on and Ellie is looking for Abby, we are given flashbacks of Ellie and Joel, and in one of them we discover that Ellie found out the lie that Joel kept from her, the truth actually, that Joel kept from her of the first game. And that breaks Ellie completely. Which turns out that this truth that Joel didn't say to Ellie is the key point for everything that happens, since after Ellie kills all of Abby's friends and Abby afterwards discovers that exact thing, she's now trying to find and kill Ellie. So they both are on the same quest for revenge, to kill each other. And with that, now we play as Abby, since the killing of Joel to her fighting Ellie in the theater. And with that playthrough, we finally understand why Abby killed Joel, why Abby did it. Like, we got all of the reason behind it. And now we don't have that much hatred towards Abby as we had in the beginning of the video game. So it turns out that the truth that Joel kept from Ellie was way more important than we thought. Since that truth was basically Joel getting Ellie back from the hospital and in that operation killing every Firefly in his way. And including Abby's dad, the doctor who was supposed to make the operation on Ellie to find the cure. And that was basically Abby's quest for revenge all along. So, what was I trying to say was that Abby's and Ellie's quest for revenge is very similar. So both of them are avenging their most loved one. But in the process of that, it came nothing but more unnecessary blood being shed. And in the end, both of them lose everything. They are completely nothing. Because they only created destruction on both of their lives on these unnecessary quests for revenge. So that is why the phrase revenge is a fool's game is so important to this story. Because nothing good comes from it. Ellie and Abby were wrong on going forward with that quest. But as the game progresses, those two understand exactly that. And even Abby understands it first than Ellie, since Abby, after fighting Ellie, after she killed all her friends, decides to spare her life, and there's that. But after that scene in the theater, we are given another part of gameplay with more story that now occurs a few months after Abby spares Ellie's life. And now we're in a place where Ellie is living with Dina, her love interest, in their most desired place that they were always talking about, a farm. And they were living their desired life, basically. But there's one thing. Ellie is not okay. Ellie still has major PTSD from what happened to Joel, and she can't seem to rest without her quest being completed. She's always seeing Joel get killed over and over and over again. So now she has been given a chance to go after Abby since she knows where she's hiding out. So Ellie thinks her only cure is to finish what she started. Again, her quest for revenge. The same one Abby had, but decided to stop because Abby knew that was the only option for her to return to her normal life. And with that, she even got a whole new determination and ambition. Now, Abby is trying to find a Firefly camp where she can be with the people she once was. So Ellie returns again to that quest, and she eventually gets Abby's location. So she goes to that location, and turns out Abby is locked up in a human trafficking facility. So Ellie does what she has to do to get to her, and she eventually gets to her. And what does she do? She frees Abby and accompanies her to the docks, where Abby says she has a boat. So as Ellie lets Abby go to the boat so she can return to her quest, her new quest, Ellie gets this major PTSD, maybe her worst one, of Joel again getting killed. So Ellie says enough is enough, we need to battle. And she says that to Abby. And Abby, as you must know, she doesn't want anything to do with that anymore, and she refuses it. But Abby has a new companion, Jeff. And Jeff is unconscious. So Ellie decides to threaten to kill Jeff. And obviously Abby cares a lot about her new companion. So she says, okay, let's just do this and get it over with. So they battle until the end. Or so we thought. So Ellie wins the battle and is now in a position that she's drowning Abby. And when she's drowning Abby, she gets flashbacks from when her and Joel were talking about that truth that he kept from her. And in that flashback, Ellie says that she wants to forgive Joel for that. And that flashback is major because after we get back to our fight with Ellie drowning Abby, we have a cutscene where Ellie just lets Abby go and she stops drowning her. And that is major because that's her forgiving Joel for what he has done. She thinks that by letting Abby go, she's also letting Joel go, which is what she wants. So Abby, after that, goes into the boat with Jeff, and they just sail off into the mist. And Ellie is watching it all, but she isn't sad or angry anymore, because by letting go Abby and letting go Joel, she also let go the most important thing ever, her quest for revenge and her anger. So that is why this game was never about love or hate, but understanding both perspectives. No one is right or wrong. They both decided to do what needed to be done in order for them to feel okay with themselves, but later learned that that decision was never justifiable and both of them just let it go. So that's why Naughty Dog made us the players play both of them, because we needed to understand both of their perspectives. So I never understood the hate towards this game, because when I finished this game I went online to find and read comments on Reddit, on blogs, on even YouTube comments. And I think they didn't understand the bigger picture. This was never about killing Abby. This was about us understanding that their actions and decisions were immoral. They were never good. I do think Abby grew and had a better development than Ellie, but that's because that new companion was what made her understand. The war between the wolves and Seraphites was never going to end until everyone was dead, and that was the same thing Abby was doing with Ellie. So she quit and found another purpose in life, which Ellie only understood at the very end of the game. So I do love this ending of this game because I think it's a good closure for this imaginary need to get revenge to make things right. But I have an alternative ending that I want to share with you guys because I think it's what needed to happen and it really didn't. I think Ellie, after freeing Abby and her companion, and after going with them into the boat, Abby should have turned to Ellie and asked, "Do you want to join us find the Firefly camp we were looking for?" And in that exact moment, Ellie would have had the flashback that she had in the actual ending with her and Joel, and her understanding that she had to forgive Joel. And she would then understand that the only way to do so was to help the Fireflies. So she would hop on the boat with Abby and her companion, and the last shot would be the boat driving into the mist and disappearing. And boom, credits rolling. I think it's a very good ending because both Ellie and Abby are very similar, and only at the end do they understand that. So they could relate to each other because they both lost everything on their stupid quests. There are still a lot of things I would love to discuss about this game. I'm going to remind you guys again, this is a 20-hour storytelling video game, so there's a lot of things to debate and discuss on, such as both Ellie and Abby's love triangles that are still very similar. They could be a parallel as well. So, with all being said, I would love to know if you guys would like a part 2 on discussing the other topics, or if this video was already good enough to make all of you understand how this game was so good, why it's my favorite game from the PS4. And for people who didn't like the story of the game or didn't really care for it, now understand why Naughty Dog did what they did and why is it so much more than just that quest for revenge. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this is not so weird. I try to do the best. I try to make it like entertaining, because I wrote an essay about this for fun, and I'm like doing kind of reading it and like just improvising, so I don't know how that works out. I don't know how I'm gonna do in the future, but I think it's a pretty good structure, you know, because I love writing. But yeah, thank you for watching and see you in the future.